An ordinary movie screening in the living room, a fleeting expression of tenderness on screen, and a strange, prickly feeling that arose out of nowhere, all this was enough to turn the little hero's familiar world upside down in a matter of hours. The boy, whose thoughts were entirely occupied by a galaxy far, far away, suddenly finds himself at the epicenter of his own tangled experiences, provoked by a single scene from Star Wars. The way the princess looks at him before they kiss him unleashes a veritable storm in his mind, one for which his childish psyche was completely unprepared. Meanwhile, in the next room, his older sister froze in anticipation of her real step into adulthood, and these two parallel lines, screen fantasy and teenage reality, weave into a single canvas of a hot summer day, filled with the first conscious curiosity and the bitter taste of jealousy.
Everything changes when Johnny reaches the famous scene where Leia and Luke express their feelings. What for the average viewer is merely a romantic touch, for the boy becomes a turning point. He's glued to the television, pausing, peering into the characters' faces, and rewinding the film, trying to unravel the mystery of that moment. It's not the actress herself that strikes him, but the new, frightening, yet alluring sensation that suddenly awakens within him. This scene evokes a strange mixture of confusion and delight within him, one he can't quite place. At that moment, the child begins to intuitively seek parallels between the action on screen and what's happening in his own home, not yet realizing that this is a premonition of the end of his own carefree childhood. From that moment on, Johnny begins to perceive reality through that very scene. He suddenly becomes extremely perceptive and notices details in Karen's behavior that he hadn't noticed before: her excessive agitation, her nervous glances at her watch, and her attempts to appear older. The boy tries to process this new emotional experience, but lacking a basis for comparison, his conclusions are muddled. This isn't falling in love in the conventional sense, but rather a profound emotional shock from the realization of the power of human connection. He becomes a silent observer whose childish spontaneity gives way to deep thoughtfulness and even a certain hostility toward the external changes he senses but can't explain in words.
The denouement comes when Karen's boyfriend appears among his friends. His sister is torn between her desire to appear cool and the natural fear of taking the first serious step. Johnny watches this scene as if it were a continuation of his film, watching her fix her hair and change her mannerisms, trying to impress. At this moment, a conflict flares up within him. The same impulses of awkwardness and jealousy that the footage with Leah evoked are now directed at his sister. He feels abandoned and simultaneously protective, unwilling to accept the rules of the adult game. This internal tension reaches its limit when he realizes that the film and life are telling the same story: the inevitability of growing up and the loss of former intimacy. As Karen and her boyfriend find themselves on the threshold of their first romantic experience, Johnny subconsciously tries to emulate the role he saw in the film, mimicking the gestures and emotions he saw. He asks fundamental questions about why people strive for this intimacy and what it means to be truly needed by another person. For him, a kiss on screen becomes a symbol of recognition of his own significance, and in his eyes, one can see a quiet hope that one day his world will be filled with the same meaning. The film, The First Hope, is a tender and profound parable about how a single film scene can become a catalyst for the coming of age of an entire generation, forever changing our understanding of love and affection.